sometimes further elaborate on the previous statement, or can serve as a balance to the previous statement. We saw some examples of both, where sometimes it is elaborating further what was said in the last statement, and sometimes it is to balance in case you went too far in applying the implications of the last statement. This next statement kind of pulls you back so that you don't misinterpret the last statement. I would say 16, the relationship between 16 and 15 is like that. Remember that 15 is emphasizing how, or 15, right? The statement for 15 is, all qualities arise from meditative equipoise. And this is in response to people who say, the qualities do not arise during meditative equipoise, but afterward. So the view that this statement 15 seeks to correct is a view that fundamentally, you can say, is a view that considers the relationship between when you're meditating on the ultimate bodhicitta, which is the emptiness and the emptiness of all inherent existence, where in that state, right? So the prevailing view, that the prevailing understanding that statement 15 seeks to correct is the understanding that somehow meditating on emptiness, resting in the state of emptiness, is somehow in competition with the development of the qualities, the Buddha qualities. So the prevailing view is, the prevailing understanding is that after you arise from your meditative equipoise, which is, equipoise means stability. After you arise from the being able to stably, reliably meditate on emptiness, then you need to go cultivate the qualities, as if, right, these two are in competition or even opposed. So statement 15 says, no. In fact, your remaining in meditative equipoise is actually also providing you the ability for these qualities to arise. And in that way, all qualities actually arise from the meditative equipoise. All right? So that's 15. Now, how 16 serves as a balance to 15 is, there is also the danger of overextending the implications of 15 when we think, oh, all I need to do is meditate on emptiness. And somehow love will turn up, compassion will turn up, patience will turn up, generosity will turn up. So 16 says, but if you have not established the cause, then the qualities will not arise. So, Chodra's commentary. It is not necessary to mention the causes for the introduction to the mind alone. He says, he starts off by saying, you know, even introduction to the mind, when a guru with qualities and experience, when a guru seeks to point out mind, to the nature of mind, to a student, even for something like that, right? The supporting causes and conditions have to be there. And he says, how much more if we're talking about the other positive states that we wish to achieve? It is taught that those who dwell on the bodhisattva stages too must effect the benefit of beings. That is, they have to engage in the cause that accomplishes inconceivable qualities, which is the great waves of conduct of the two accumulations, which is, he says, you have to put effort in increasing the two accumulations. Poetically, the great waves of conduct of the two accumulations. The two accumulations, accumulation of merit and accumulation of wisdom. So here, he even puts it in the form of question and answer. Query, does this not contradict your statement that all the qualities arise solely from meditative equipoise? Yeah. So this commentary even directly show you how, right? Last statement and this statement. This statement is to check, to balance the last statement. Because from the last statement, you might think, oh, so you're saying that all the qualities arise solely from meditative equipoise. And then now you say, oh, no, you have to create the causes. And so the question, answer, it is not contradictory. Here, meditative equipoise is practiced within emptiness and is not accomplished in subsequent consciousness that involves grasping as real. For example, even though the power for obtaining what is necessary and what is hoped to appear exists in a precious jewel, it is the case that one must wipe it 3 times and so forth, attach it to the tip of a victory banner and pray to it. Okay, this reference is obscure to you, but this is according to how or what you have to do when you discover a wish-fulfilling jewel. And this is sort of like the Indian equivalent of the lamp, the magical lamp of the genie. So, right, you all know that, right? The magical lamp of the genie, when you get it, right, then you can rub the lamp and then the genie comes out and says, I will grant you your wishes, right? Except in the lamp, it's always tricky. Yeah? But in the wish-fulfilling gem, there's no one trying to trick you, okay? But here, according to the Indian understanding, when you have found a wish-fulfilling jewel, you still have to do certain things first, which is first you have to clean it. And so here it says, you have to wipe it 3 times and so forth. And so forth are the different instructions of how, when you find a wish-fulfilling jewel, you have to polish it, you have to clean it, you have to bathe it in different types of like jasmine water, and then milk, and then ghee, and then butter, and then, 7 times of cleaning it this way and that way. And then after that, you have to put it, attach it to the tip of a victory banner and raise it high. And then you circumambulate it, and then you make offerings to it, and then it will fulfill all your wishes. And so he uses that as an example to say, even when you have obtained a wish-fulfilling jewel, still, so the wish-fulfilling jewel here is your ability to remain meditating on emptiness without being distracted. That's, you could say, like the wish-fulfilling jewel. But it cannot function yet as a wish-fulfilling jewel until you have also created the other conditions, the other causes. Polishing it, cleaning it, raising it high up, making offerings to it. And then it can work as a wish-fulfilling jewel. Query: if one accomplishes a cause, it is not subsequent consciousness? Is that not subsequent consciousness? Reply: it is not. And then a quote: I am without the conceit of saying I am in meditative equipoise and then I rise from it. Therefore, it is necessary to accomplish the causes in the state where one does not deviate from meditative equipoise. So, okay, this subsequent consciousness, don't worry too much about it. And this is for those who are educated in Buddhist psychology. Then these are important terms. I think for most of us who are studying together in this program, these are not terms that are very relevant to us. I'm not saying that they're not important, but I'm just saying, these are not questions that we might raise. So I'm not going to say too much about that, except to point out here, the gist of what Chodra is explaining here is, don't divide so much into, oh, now it's meditative equipoise. Oh, now I'm coming out of it. See that as meditative equipoise, post-meditative equipoise. See all of that as part of one continuous state of practice. So he quotes the Ratnakutta Sutra saying, I possess a radiating gnosis, wisdom, the name of which is pure I. It arises from a mind that abandons concern for life, wealth, cleverness, profit, and fear of sickness. And by offering light to the Buddha, thus the pure I arises from that. So from this sutra, the sutra in this place is probably praising the merit of making light offerings, lamp offerings. But it gives us a deeper meaning. It says, when you offer a lamp to the Buddha, but you offer it with a mind that abandons concern for this life, meaning a very limited view, a very limited context of thinking about benefit and loss. That's the meaning of this life. We should not interpret the abandoning concern for this life so that we can live irresponsibly. Spend all your money and then call your relatives to try to borrow money. Then they'll say, what kind of spiritual practitioner you are? You're just lazy, The abandoned concern for this life means, we don't measure successes and failures, especially on the spiritual path, in such a limited way, just like right in front of our eyes, can't see beyond. So to abandon concerns for this life. And that means, like all the little inconveniences that we encounter, we don't let them bother us. That's the meaning of not being attached to the concerns of this life. Then from there, you can magnify and magnify so that, yes, you become even free from the concern of, what will happen tomorrow? What will happen next year? And that's so freeing. But it's not the kind of freeing, as I said in another context, a jerk and the Buddha shares certain qualities. Yeah, a jerk and a Buddha superficially share certain qualities. One of them is both of them absolutely don't care what other people think of them. But be careful, not to think, being a jerk is being a Buddha. Yeah. So not to be concerned about this life, it can also come up in two ways, a Buddha way and the other way. So don't mistake the other way and think, oh, now I am Buddha-like. Because I have no concern, no concern because, each time you need something, you go bother someone else. not in that way. Yeah. So here it says, when you offer a lamp to the Buddhas, and that offering comes from a mind that abandons concern for life, for wealth, for cleverness, for profit, or even for fear of sickness. Often those, right, might be reasons, especially in Asia, and also maybe in Latin America countries more so. When we have problems like that, we go light candles in the church, in the temple, It's usually for these reasons: fear of sickness, concern for this life, for wealth, for cleverness, for profit, right? But if you're able to do the lamp offerings to a point where you are no longer concerned by those things, but nonetheless, you still offer a lamp, then it becomes a cause for the arising of the pure eye, which is, what is it? Radiating primordial wisdom. So that quote is to show how meditative equipoise here can mean then, when you have understanding of emptiness and you do not deviate from it, and yet you engage in the accumulation of merit, making offerings, feeding the hungry, protecting the weak, planting trees to benefit others, all of that. But you do it within this meditative equipoise of emptiness, this understanding of emptiness. Then all the positive results can arise spontaneously. So therefore, Chodra says, the intention is that, meaning what Gyalpa Rinpoche means here in this statement, intention in this sense, therefore, what it means here is that the method of completing the two accumulations, while one does not deviate from meditative equipoise, is a profound point. This is a very kind of helpful instruction for us to not separate the domain of realizing emptiness and the domain of accumulating merit. The more you understand emptiness, the more you will engage in activities that are productive of merit. And the more you engage in the producting of merit, the more it will enhance your understanding and leading up to finally complete realization of emptiness. That they're not contradictory. That, he says, is the key profound point. Questions or comments?
Is that basically saying absolute and relative bodhicitta are the same? That if you have absolute, you have relative, and relative is the result or the continuation of absolute. I mean, you're sort of you're blending.
It is saying that absolute and relative bodhicitta are not two things. It is saying that. But more importantly, it is saying you have to practice them in that way. You cannot think automatically you are going to get it right. See, seemingly, like I said, seemingly is talking about the result. But it's not. It's talking about how you conceptualize the result and what that concept, how that conceptualization will impact path. Yeah?
I think I see it. It's what you do in the world is a continuation of what you do in meditation if you are
Yes.
sincerely,
Yes.
and then what you do in the world influences
Correct.
your seeing. Your
Yes.
sitting.
In broader terms, yes. This is what these two statements are about.
Okay.
Sometimes it gets too technical Buddhist talk. Then we're like, then the danger is we walk away very well versed in Buddhist talk, but then nothing happens. So I want to emphasize, I feel maybe I'm being arrogant here. Our study of Gongchik, I want us to focus more, on like what it means for practice, what it means for our life, rather than mastering concepts and then walking away and say, I know Gongchik, Kyoba Rinpoche will be disappointed. It becomes tenet system. He doesn't like wasting time. I think, on tenet systems. As often, Sobish's notes are very helpful. So let's look at that now. According to Dorje Sherab, some geshes, some learned types, claim that all qualities arise in Mahamudra without the need to establish specific causes for them. So there are even those in the Mahamudra, but probably those who theorize Mahamudra, like philosophize Mahamudra rather than practice Mahamudra. So they will say, oh, in Mahamudra, these qualities will just arise. So this is what they say. For instance, there is great wealth in a dark dungeon that is the treasury of a man. But because of the darkness, he cannot see that it is there. Holding up a torch as he enters one day, he can see it all. Similarly, at the causal time of being an ordinary sentient being, all the qualities of the Buddha exist in oneself. But one does not perceive them because the darkness of karma, afflictions, and cognitive misorientation obscures them. At the time of realizing the Dharmakaya Mahamudra, which is like a light, all the qualities arise spontaneously without the need to achieve them. This view is still very much taught in Mahamudra by other people. And this paragraph, right? You can find them in many Mahamudra books published in modern times, whether by popular, famous Tibetan lamas or by their Western disciples. You could say this is like the discovery model of Buddha nature. Like it's all already there. All you need to do. In fact, even in the course of our study of Gongchik, right, we might even have expressed it in these ways earlier on. I know I did, but I'm aware, like, no, there's a clear, there is a nuance to that, which is what's being addressed here. Right? I mean, do you agree? This paragraph that Dorje Sherab just quoted, you're like, yeah, that sounds like what I have been thinking. Like these qualities are not something that you have to work on. They are already there. And all you need to do is to discover them by clearing away karma, afflictions, and cognitive misorientation. Such an arising is refuted by Jigten Sumgen, who maintains that the qualities arise from causes. To this, an opponent replies that Jigten Sumgun is contradicting his own statement that all the qualities arise solely from meditative equipoise. So here, meditative equipoise will be like bringing in that lamp, that torch, into this dark room, and all the treasures are already there. So to this, an opponent replies that Jigten Sumgun is contradicting his own statement that all the qualities arise solely from meditative equipoise, referring to the previous Vajra statement and implying, like the Geshe above, that within Mahamudra there is no cause and result, but only spontaneous accomplishing. The Dorshema then responds, one practices meditative equipoise within emptiness. Or one practices meditative equipoise by dwelling in. So what is this equipoise resting in? Is resting in this realization of emptiness. If one would accomplish it within the subsequent consciousness endowed with grasping phenomena as real, there would be a great contradiction. Here, that meditative equipoise is the source of all qualities. Therefore, all qualities arise within emptiness, but one must accomplish the cause of those qualities. One reaches such an accomplishment within the state of meditative equipoise, not separated from it. This is what, Judy, how you put it in your own words, which is, you're meditating on emptiness. If it is done right, it needs to impact the way you go about being in the world, accumulating merit. So the way you go about being in the world, first step, it has to be avoiding demerit, first step. Second step, even while accumulating merit, it has to be against the background of realizing emptiness so that you don't, right, objectify merit.
But you can't start out meditating appropriately on emptiness. You meditate with whatever idea you can realize about emptiness.
Yeah, of course, yes.
And then you go and you do something out in the world that is benefiting others. And
Yes.
then the next time you come back, you might get a little better.
Yes.
And it's a progression
Correct.
of back and forth, kind of
Correct.
integrated.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So now Sobish says, a simile compares meditative equipoise to a wish-fulfilling jewel. The qualities arise from that jewel, but not without the proper procedure of wiping the jewel, attaching it on top of a victory banner and praying to it. Rinchen Changchup provides further explanation. Wiping it 3 times, is the, quote, cleansing consisting of the 3 training, such as the precious disciplined conduct. The 3 trainings are training in disciplined conduct, training in meditative concentration, and training in primordial wisdom. Shila, Samadhi, Prajna. Attaching the jewel is calm abiding and superior insight. Shamatha and Vipassana. Praying is making offerings with the gift of perfect giving, praying with the wish to achieve the benefit and happiness of all sentient beings, that is, with love, compassion, and the resolve for awakening. These activities bring forth temporary happiness, as well as ultimately a Buddha's immeasurable qualities of separation and maturation. Yeah, so that quote from unnamed Geshes, you can find them in Mahamudra texts. The more discovery idea that the way it works is that It's like the treasures are already there. You're not making them new. And the light of wisdom, that torch that you bring into the darkness, is the meditation on emptiness. And once it clears away the confusion, all the treasures are there for you to use, right? In other contexts, I would say this way of looking at things is correct. But if you on the basis of this simile, this simile, therefore think, oh, all I need to do is meditate on wisdom, on emptiness, because that's the torch. Then Gilbert Rinpoche said, no, that's also not going to work. You have to actively cultivate bodhicitta. You have to actively cultivate the four immeasurables. You have to actively cultivate shamatha vipassana, because these are all the causes for the arising of the qualities. So in other words, I've mentioned, the discovery model of Buddha nature and the developmental model of Buddha nature. Right? I have said, you can say generally speaking, overall, the Gelugpa and the Sakyapas emphasize more the development model. They say you have to cultivate these. Buddha nature is nothing other than emptiness for them, they say, because it means that the potential to become Buddha is always there, because confusion is empty of inherent existence. So confusion can always be completely done away with. They say that's the extent of Buddha nature. Nothing more than that. It's just Buddha's way of making it sound more warm and fuzzy. So then Buddha says, oh, Buddha nature is the source of all qualities. In fact, what it really means is that because your confusion don't have inherent existence, therefore, it can be replaced and done away with compassion, with love, with cherishing others. That's more a Gelugpa Sakyapa way of talking about. Then Kagyu Nyingma tends to park themselves more in the discovery model, which is really like this quote at the bottom of page 606 to the top of page 607. That the analogy of like there's a dark room, but the dark room have all kinds of jewelry, precious things, but we don't see it, so we're groping in the dark. And in fact, because we don't see it, so because all the jewels, I will carry this simile further, because we don't see the jewels, right? And there's so much of it in this room, we might trip over them and even curse them and say, this hurt me, I'm falling, terrible, all these things. But once a torch comes in, which is like the wisdom, oh, look at this, all these precious things that I can use to benefit others and all that. So that's more a discovery model. But here then, these two statements here show that Gilbert Rinpoche is not going to park himself here or here. Instead, he will say, both are necessary. Both ways of looking are necessary. To stubbornly cling to one or the other is when we have missed the point. Yes?
Mm, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Nagarjuna in the Precious Garland, he has like the intertwined cause and effect of the two accumulations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I remember that it has also a connotation of karma, that if you have merit, then you have good karma, and then you have the opportunity to practice,
Yes.
get,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. And well, it seems like, well, one of the aspects was related with that, like also like having the opportunity to practice for the involving wisdom practices. You need to have the previous merit, and
Mm-hmm.
then later you also
Yeah, they
have,
mutually reinforce each other. But
yeah.
you see, here it's also about you have to see it that way. That's the take-home lesson for us.
Okay.
We have to see it that way. We cannot just assume that it will become like that. Even if at the point of, from the perspective of result, that is how it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But on this end of things, we have to actively see it that way, understand it that way, and therefore practice it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Using this further,
Yes.
jewels also are not all revealed. They're sort of, you begin to see the qualities.
Mm-hmm.
Not,
Yes.
I mean, you get a little glimpse of equanimity, for instance,
Yes.
and then maybe some other time a bigger glimpse, and then maybe
Yes.
patience. I
Right.
mean, it's
Right. So if you want to play on the geisha's simile, right? Dark room with the jewels, you will say, yeah, when you bring in the torch, right? You might now recognize, oh, these are precious things, but not immediately you'll know what to do with them.
right. I get that's
Yeah. Right.
yeah. Okay, that's good to know
Yes.
that I'm not totally.
Yeah. So even when you have a glimpse of like, you know, or an experience of like love and compassion very profoundly, don't think, you know, like, oh, I got it, you know, because you don't know yet, right? The full extent of how this can be powerful, profound, you know, there's a lot to be discovered. Yeah.
Dr. Lai,
Yes.
even in the fable about Aladdin and the lamp,
Uh-huh.
when you have the lamp, you had to do certain things.
Yes.
You had to rub it.
Yes.
And the whole story of
And
the
you have to
fable,
ask wisely, right?
well, and the whole story of the fable was you had to say the magic word,
Uh-huh.
the magic words.
Right.
And the story of the fable is the person couldn't remember.
Yes.
He couldn't remember the magic word, and he did not get the benefit of the lamp.
Right.
Genie wouldn't come because he didn't say the magic word.
Uh-huh.
So even in that fable,
Yes.
the importance of the mind
Right.
and the importance to do the ritual things
Yes.
is very important.
Yes. So the causes, yeah, good. Yeah. The causes have to be cultivated, even if, right, that wish fulfilling jewel can fulfill, but it can fulfill if.
So it shows that even when you have the ground is clear and cultivated, you still have to make the effort and do the things that are necessary to bring forth the
Yes.
qualities.
Yes. Yes. And so after these last couple of statements, then statement 17, which we already looked at. It's almost like you could say, now it's a summary of the last few statements by saying, therefore, if you have realized emptiness, then that realization will lead you to an understanding of cause and effect as being unmistaken. So if you ever have any questions of, oh, did I have a profound experience of emptiness? Well, look at, did it change you to be more careful about cause and effect, or did it change you to being more careless about cause and effect? Then accordingly, you will know, was that a profound realization of emptiness, or that was just some, right, intellectual aha? So that's 17. Uh, 18, 19, 20 in chapter 6 is about further then now about the necessity of conditions, even if we have certain profound realizations. So it's elaborating on this. Even if you have what you thought was profound realization, the accumulations that the Buddha taught us, he taught it for a reason. They still need to be cultivated. Is the overall point of statement 18, 19, 20 applied in different contexts. In 18, it is applied in the context of saying, yes, generally realization of Mahamudra can be done in realization of Mahamudra actually goes beyond all the methods that are taught in the sutras, taught in the tantras. But nonetheless, the methods taught, we should not abandon them. They are necessary. And then 18 is specifically about the tantric methods. They are necessary. They're called path of means. 19 is talking about, there is this idea that when you have reached a certain state of realization, you should, what's known as display the special kind of, you could say, crazy wisdom activities of the Mahasiddhas. But here, Gyalpa Rinpoche will say, the really crazy behavior is the behavior of disciplined conduct. And then 20, he will say, in another context, how even if you think you have had some profound realization, you need to actively still develop these qualities. Here is called the three dharmas. So this is the last three statements, which we will look at on Friday. So we will meet on Friday. Then we will go back to chapter 1 and finish statement 29, 30, the last two statements there. Any questions?
Hello.
Yes. Hello.
Can
Any questions?
okay. Here we go. So I'm thinking these methods are designed because we're always playing such tricks in our mind, and
Yes.
it seems like there's so many levels of wisdom that sometimes we might, you know, reach a different level, and then here comes something else to make us realize, oh my goodness, there's yet another level.
Yes. Yes. Of course. And sometimes people get carried away by, again, like, you know, the more Mahamudra, or you could say Dzogchen, or even in the Zen tradition, right, where they like to talk a lot about, you know, non-dual and instantaneous and all of that, you know. And it easily gets carried away. Then when teachers are not careful and talk too much about the view, you know, then we might intellectualize the view and think that the intellectualization of the view is the realization of the view. And then if the teachers don't emphasize enough the need to work on removing the obscurations, adhering to avoiding the 10 non-virtues, all kinds of mischief can sneak in and arise. Yeah. So more, you know, I think another round of exposing kind of exposing, how do you say it, problems within the American Western Buddhist communities. You might see if you're on Facebook. This pertains to this teacher, Lama Suryadas. Actually, these events already happened like 10 years ago. I'm not sure what, you know, why it became the level of publicness that it is kind of happening now. But this is not recent. Around 10 years ago, his public profile took a dive because he kind of stepped back a little. And the reason he stepped back is because it was discovered that he was directly or indirectly pressuring his female students to have, like, you know, sexual relations with him. And he was married and kind of doing this behind, hiding behind his wife's back and all of that. And again, you know, I think, in my opinion, you know, he's certainly someone that, you know, talks a lot about the view, you know. And it's easy to get carried away by thinking, you know, you have the view, you know, when the conduct doesn't match your view. That's dangerous, you know. I'm not saying that he is good or bad either. I don't know him, you know, cannot say those things. But certainly you can see that the style of the way he teaches is all about, you know, and there's a certain attraction to that, you know. I've compared it to like kind of like Bible revivals, and evangelical service, that emphasizes a lot on like being saved, the experience, the peak experience of being saved, and so it's very exciting, and it doesn't really require a lot of effort, just the right staging of the environment can give you a very powerful feeling of, I'm saved by Jesus, or I have realized emptiness, I have realized the view, I have recognized the nature of mind. These are all peak experiences that under the right conditions that can be staged sometimes, you can have very powerful experience. But if this powerful experience, right, does not actually translate into conduct that is benefiting ourselves and benefiting beings, then we can get carried away very easily. Yeah. Then with regards to those of you who are maybe hearing this for the first time and like shocked and say, oh my God, Lama Surya Das, blah, blah, blah. Two lessons, one is, Buddha says, don't rely on personalities. These are personas created by the press, social media, and therefore, look to the Dharma. What about Guru Yoga? Guru Yoga is not something so superficially developed. Guru Yoga is the result of many years of being connected together through good and bad times, seeing things you like to see, seeing things you don't like to see, but more importantly, seeing progress growing on both sides. Then being encouraged by that to look to the true Guru, which is the nature of our own minds. That's how Guru Yoga is supposed to happen. Not, all this fan club business. But we all love that, Who doesn't like to have an enlightened Guru at their disposal? But that's not, what Guru Yoga is, when we read this carefully. Questions or comments? Any questions? If not, then, I'll see you all on Friday morning. Then Friday evening, I start another 3-day retreat. This is with the Tibet House in Mexico City. Then I want to call your attention to 2 other retreats that you can participate and sign up for. One is on the first weekend of September. It's called In Samsara, it's the body that wanders, wander around. This is a Vajra statement from Jigten Sumgön, actually. In Samsara, it's the body that wanders. And there's basically a retreat on mindfulness of body. And so details are on the, if you don't go to Facebook, then go to Google Ecumenical Buddhist Society of Little Rock, or just Buddhist Society, Little Rock, Arkansas. You'll find a website and you can look for registration details there. We also sent out an email from Urban Dharma, I think yesterday. Then the retreat that follows that is in later in September. So there are two of these two retreats. Later in September is a Thursday night to Sunday noon-ish retreat. And that is on developing love and compassion by Om Mani Padme Hum, practice of Om Mani Padme Hum. This is a more focused and more intense, you could say, version of our Sakadawa during the last 2 weeks of Sakadawa. We did the Avalokiteshvara practice, remember? Yeah. So done in a more intense way, done in a way that is for cultivating exactly those qualities of love and compassion, is the focus of that retreat. And that is a retreat hosted by Southern Dharma. Southern Dharma. So if you Google Southern Dharma, look at their retreat schedule, then you can find that retreat there and registration details. So that's it. We'll end here today with the dedication. Chanju Semchu Rinpoche Ma Ge Pa Nam Ge Gyurche Ge Ba Nyam Pa Me Pa Ya Gone Gong Du Bell Word Sure